some of you may recall, we announced these payments in January, many months ago. There wasn't a secret. We announced them to all of you. This wasn't some nefarious deal, and it wasn't a secret. We were completely open with everybody about it, and it's interesting to me how suddenly this became a story again. That's point number one. Point number two, we do not pay ransom for hostages. Even as we're looking into the faces of other hostage families whose loved ones are being held hostage, and say to them that we don't pay ransom, defies logic. Because if we did, then we would start encouraging Americans to be targeted. Then we would start encouraging Americans to be targeted, much in the same way that some countries that do pay ransom end up having a lot more of their citizens being taken by various groups. And let me make a final point on this. It's now been well over a year since the agreement with Iran to stop its nuclear program was signed. The agreement with Iran was signed. And by all accounts, it has worked exactly the way we said it was going to work. You'll recall that there were all these horror stories about how Iran was going to cheat and this wasn't going to work, and Iran was going to get $150 billion to finance terrorism, $150 billion to finance terrorism, and all get $150 billion, and none of them have come to pass. And it's not just the assessment of our intelligence community, it's the assessment of the Israeli military and intelligence community, that acknowledges this has been a game changer and that Iran has abided by the deal and that they no longer have the sort of short-term breakout capacity that would allow them to develop nuclear weapons. Why not have some of these folks who were predicting disaster say, you know what, this thing actually worked? Now that would be a shock. That would be impressive. If some of these folks who had said the sky is falling suddenly said, you know what, we were wrong, and we are glad that Iran no longer has the capacity to break out in short term and develop a nuclear weapon. The manufacturing of outrage in a story that we disclosed in January. And the only bit of news that is relevant on this is the fact that we paid cash. We paid cash. Which brings me to my last point. The reason that we had to give them cash is precisely because we are so strict in maintaining sanctions and we do not have a banking relationship with Iran that we couldn't send them a check. And we could not wire the money. And it is not at all clear to me why it is that cash, as opposed to a check or a wire transfer, has made this into a news story. Maybe because it kind of feels like some spy novel or, some, crime novel, because cash was exchanged.
I'm in this bitch with terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it right. I'm in this bitch with terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it right.
The reason cash was exchanged is because so that they would ship a whole bunch of nuclear material out, so that they would ship a whole bunch of nuclear material out, and so that they would ship a whole bunch of nuclear material out, that we make sure Iran doesn't have breakout nuclear capacity.